Hey y'all, it's Aaron. I've already reviewed several of the dolls released for the live action The Little Mermaid, but this one's the big one. Here's the limited edition Ariel doll from ShopDisney or the Disney store or however you prefer to call it. I was hoping so bad that this doll would be made. I've collected these LEs over the years, but the most special releases are always of Ariel. And now she finally has that live action movie that so many of us have been dreaming about. This doll retails for $150. I still can't get over that price. I've collected these for years and I was there when they were $100 and then $120 and then $130 and now $150. So is this doll worth that price? At first, looking at her, I was like, and there's just one way to find out, and that's by taking her out of the box. So the box is covered in holographic purple and has the standard 3-panel box that these LEs have had for years. The box is tied with a bow, and it's always a big deal for me to untie it. First we take the top off, and then the clear plastic window. Of course, I had to take out the previous limited edition Ariel doll from 2019. They look so different next to each other, but they also complement each other really well. Ariel's original design is so simple, so it's pretty cool to see the different ways that they can interpret it. It's interesting how the colors and the materials can vary for one doll. This 2019 version has more elements like metallics and plastic, which make the live-action version look a lot more plain. But they say that less is more. Could that be the case with this new doll? This is the certificate of authenticity that comes with all the limited edition Disney dolls. Some people make a big deal about how low the numbers are, but I usually don't care about that. It's time to debox this doll, and we have a lot of cutting ahead of us. Sometimes deboxing these LEs can be very exhausting because they're all attached the same way. They all have a ton of wires and a ton of T-tags. Like I said, there's a lot of cutting involved, and you want to make sure that you don't cut the hair or the fabric. Ariel is free at last. This is what she looks like when she's freshly taken out of the box. So there she is, a very simple but pretty doll. I'm gonna get into what I like about this doll and then the things that I don't. And I still have a little more cutting left because she has her bag attached to her bra and her tail, and she also has this section of hair attached to her bra as well. This is the stand included with the doll. It holds her at her waist. The base is smaller than they usually are, so Ariel kind of has a hard time standing on it. First, I'm going to talk about what I like, and that's the doll itself. It's such a pretty doll. This Halle Bailey sculpt is really cute. The paint itself could be better, but it could have also been much worse. This head sculpt is the same as the singing version that was also released by ShopDisney. It looks much better blown up in this scale, and that's often the case for these dolls. Although her hair is supposedly polypropylene, it's pretty soft, and I've been really impressed with the way that they did her locks. This doll features rooted eyelashes, and they even included her mole, which appears to be sculpted on. I love this hand sculpt and I'm so glad that they've continued using it. Now let's take a look at her body. Her tail has Velcro on the back so it can slide off of her legs. The cool thing about this body is that for the first time a limited edition doll has double jointed knees. With the tail on it can't bend all the way, but it's still cool to know that that's there. She also has feet that can hinge to the side and swivel up and down. Let's take a look at her bag. This is a wonderful accessory. It's very detailed and it's made out of this net-like fabric, and it includes some items from her collection. There are also these dangling beads which are really eye-catching. One of the items we see is a telescope, which is a new treasure for Ariel, and it's going to have a special part in the story of the movie. But of course, they couldn't leave out her famous dingle hopper. It's a really nice piece. It's a great sculpt and has a nice finish to the paint, and it's actually made out of plastic. It looks metallic and slightly rusted looking. I think that she can even comb her hair with it. I think this is the first time that a limited edition doll has had a dingle hopper, and I'm really happy with it. Okay, onto her outfit. Her bra's alright. I didn't expect much because to begin with I wasn't that big of a fan of her new bra. It's like scales on her chest and, I don't know. I thought it was kind of weird. It has grown on me, and the way that they did her top is pretty much the same way that it was done for the singing version. A lot of people didn't like this bit sprayed on her belly. It's supposed to look like it does on Halle, which is like her tail fading into her body. But the way they did it just looks weird. They should have just used glitter. One of the most important parts of any Ariel doll for me, and the part that disappointed me the most with this doll, was the tail. When I first saw it in the stock photos, I was not really impressed, and I was like, that doesn't look right. The thing is, for what it is, the tail is pretty, but it's so inaccurate and, in my opinion, poorly done. The live-action tail is stunning, and the fins are spectacular. The fabric they chose is not working for me. The tail is supposed to be multicolored with flashes of green and blue and bright pink on the lower half. The green is too flat, and the gradient to pink is gross. There is like a gray chunk between the color change. The sequins are also really bad. They're clear and they barely catch any light. I'm not really a fan of these sequins that have been used on the previous LE Ariel dolls. They can look really dark in certain lighting, but I think these would have looked better for the live action design than the ones that they chose. I mean, really clear sequins, they just do nothing for the tail, sorry. At this point you're probably asking, why would you buy this doll if you didn't like such a big part of it? I just really like Ariel, I can't help it. I do like the fin details on the back though. The 12-inch singing version also had these back fins, and I want to give them their props because I don't think any of the Mattel dolls got this detail. And besides, this tail still isn't nearly as bad as the 2013 one. That one's unforgivable. I mean, pedals for scales, that was a whole new low. Now moving on to the absolute worst part of this doll, and that is this horrible sorry excuse for fins. I can say that I kinda hate these. This is literally me with these fins.
I'm trying to avoid any sort of contact with my eyes with this thing, but it's so bright I can't look.
The fins are supposed to have several layers, and all the parts are supposed to have distinctive shapes and colors. Even fins similar to this Mattel doll would have been good. I'm just so confused how other dolls had printed details, and the Disney store just settled with this. So all they did is just sew on 2 rounded pieces of fabric and call it a fin. It has absolutely no shape, and they clearly did not try with this. It's a huge bummer for me because usually the limited edition Ariel doll fins are really well done. They typically have embroidery, rhinestones, and even wiring so that you can pose it to your liking. Like this, for example. But these new fins were honestly so unacceptable and offensive to me. Again, the fabric is pretty, but it just poofs up. It just looks so wrong. Because they are so shapeless, I think they should have sewn them together. Something like this would have looked better. Or at least some wiring along the hem so that we can pose it. Both of the fabrics used on the fins are just giving me like old 90s collector Barbie dolls, and especially this one. This is from a collector Ariel by Mattel. Does anyone remember this one? Holding the fins together with a rubber band gives it better shape. Will it damage the fabric long term? I don't know. So what I want to do to add to this is steal these fins from this toddler version. I just unscrewed the holder and then take out the fabric, and then we can slide it into the Ellie's fins. Now these fins aren't all that accurate either, but I think they do add a lot more visually. There's a lot more detail that you can appreciate rather than just 2 pieces of fabric. Seriously, if you had told me that these fins were for a $150 doll, I would not have believed you. Man, I really hate these. And this is Ariel sitting down like a beautiful mermaid. With these added fins, I'm a lot more content with how the doll looks. You don't even have to get the toddler doll. You can be creative and add your own flair to it. Trust me, anything is better than these lazy fins that they gave us. I also made a portrait for this doll to see what the colors would look like if they were done more accurately. I think this shows how a good doll could have been turned into a great doll with the right stuff. So is this doll worth $150? I definitely think that the price is not justified with all that we got. I think that since the live action version of Flounder is so small, they could have at least included him. I mean, usually for the live-action limited edition dolls, there's not a lot going on. Who could forget how horribly wrong they got the dress for the limited edition Emma Watson doll? But for example, for Mulan's limited edition doll, they included a sword and a big phoenix companion. And side note, this bird is also super inaccurate. It turned out being red in the film, so it's like all that effort for nothing. I will say that even though I really appreciated this bag accessory, if it meant getting a more accurate tail, I would have absolutely given that up. But I'm not giving up that dingle hopper. I really love that thing. I'm absolutely going to use it for my other Ariel dolls. But still, it's a nice doll and I don't regret buying it. I saw several people asking for a better look at it, and I want to do this for any of you who are on the fence about it. And I hope that this review was some help. If you want to see more of my videos on doll projects, subscribe to my channel. I post videos both in English and Spanish. Thanks for watching.